Welcome to the Dream Coach podcast. My name is Shayla Way, and I am your host. And I am excited to jump in today and talk about the idea of how inner peace is such a key when it comes to living your dream life. You know, a couple weeks ago, a couple of us girlfriends, we were having dinner and we were really talking about this next year, 2025. A handful of us turned 40 this year. I know, right? Big milestone. And a lot of what really came up was this idea of creating this life and intentionally having things in our life that allow us to feel fulfilled. And that now, so more than in our prior years, is the idea of success, the idea of fulfillment actually very much correlates with this idea of inner peace. And this was something I feel like really was this aha moment for me where I've always been very, very motivated, very goal driven, love having dreams on the horizon to go after. And, you do get to this place in life where whether it's a new chapter, call it different transition periods, age definitely plays a factor in that. But, there was this conversation around this idea of this feeling of just this inner peace. And it's a feeling I feel like I've just started to experience. And I know that might seem weird for those of you, especially if you do know me. I'm somebody that is very, very happy, very driven. I feel very fulfilled in a lot of other ways. And I've made some transitions in my life with my career, really shifting on focusing on primarily coaching and strategy coaching, and just made a decision to leave, my career of after almost 20 years in direct sales. And so as you go through these transitions and periods of life, you do really take these moments to think about, what is it that I really want, and why do I want that, and how am I going to get there? And those are three questions I use on a lot of coaching strategy sessions. But this idea of inner peace was just so exciting for me that I really wanted to dive into it more today, because I really do believe that this is that secret sauce, not just for running a successful business, but for really living, as I shared, that really fulfilling life. And if you're anything like me, you've felt the weight of endless to-do lists, the pressure of hitting targets, and definitely that guilt of trying to balance work and family. But here's the truth, right? Without that inner peace, success can kind of feel hollow and happiness just stays out of reach. And so today I'm going to dive into why inner peace really is the key to happiness, and more importantly, just some actionable ways to get there. And so when I think about going after our dreams and our goals is how do we do this in a way where we can enjoy the journey? I'm a big believer in that. My definition of success is for sure how to spin all of the plates while enjoying the journey. And I feel like that is very true today to how I live my life today. But whether you are a small business owner, a team leader, or an ambitious dreamer, this episode is definitely for you. And so the first key I really feel is, is why inner peace is such a big part of happiness. Is the thing is that success without that inner peace, and an analogy I kind of like to use is it's kind of like drinking water from a cup that has a crack in it, right? It just never quite fills you up. And so when you have inner peace, you do operate from a space of clarity and purpose, and challenges just don't shake you as much. Setbacks feel a lot more manageable, and your day-to-day becomes less reactive and more intentional. But by achieving that state, right, it's definitely an inside job. So you can't buy inner peace and you can't outsource it to somebody else. It's about managing your thoughts, creating those boundaries, and building habits that prioritize your well-being. And so if we were to just jump into three powerful ways that you really could cultivate inner peace, even in the chaos of entrepreneurship, I hope you take something from this episode today. And so the first thing I want to kind of dive into is just that clarity around priorities. I know for myself that when I am crystal clear on my priorities, it allows me to feel that inner peace. And so as a business owner, it is easy to think that everything is urgent. And the truth is that not everything deserves your immediate attention. And so often I'll use with coaching clients especially is taking those tasks that we have and dividing that into that matrix that has the 4 quadrants. And there's lots of methods around this, but things that are really urgent and important, things that are important but not urgent, things that are urgent but not important, and things that are neither urgent nor important, right? I might have mixed up a couple of those words there, but you get the gist of it, right? Is actually taking that big list of everything that we have to do and saying, okay, like if I just zoom out for a second here, where are my priorities for today, for the week, for the month, right? And when your time aligns with your values and your priorities, you definitely feel a lot less scattered and you feel way more at peace. And hey, it's okay to say no, right? Every time you say yes to something unaligned, you are saying no to something that could have brought you that peace and that fulfillment. The second thing is just building daily stillness practices. And if we just talk about stillness for a second, again, if you know me, I am a busy bee, but I thrive on that. There was some time recently where I really thought that this year, what I really wanted was simple. I was sharing with people, I just want less. I just want simple. And what I realized is that actually that's not what I want. I love thriving in lots of different things, but where I was not in alignment was it had to be intentional and it had to feel like my values and priorities were lining up. And so, when I kind of peeled back those layers and got deep with myself, I realized, okay, what I do want is actually that inner peace. I want to feel fulfilled and I want to have, lots of spinning plates, but I want it to feel in alignment with where I'm growing, right? Where I'm growing in 2025. And so you just can't find that inner peace in your mind if you're constantly running a marathon. So I'm not saying you need to meditate on mountains, for hours every day, of course, unless you want to, but just even that 5 minutes of stillness every day can really reset your mind. And so for me, my morning routine is dialed. The alarm goes off at 5:25. I'm at my workout by 6 a.m. I come back, I have my greens, I've got my coffee, I've got my vital proteins, I do my journaling, and I do my breath work. And that is a standard pretty much 5 out of the 7 days a week. And that habit took a while to build, for sure. But again, just going back to the intention of that inner peace is when I am doing those practices in the morning, creating that stillness, creating that space, it allows me to create a day that's got the clarity, creativity, and I can be calm. And as busy and chaotic my life might look to other people, it actually feels very peaceful for me, right? And so you just really want to trust that your team, your family, and your clients, right? They'll feel the difference as you lead them and as you lead yourself. And so that looks different for lots of people, but just being mindful that in order to have that feeling of inner peace, we want to create space out of the day-to-day to allow us to be really intentional as we go in through the day that we're creating for ourselves. And the other thing I wanted to just touch on is just letting go of control over those outcomes. So the third thing that I just feel like is a total game changer is just letting go of the illusion of control. As entrepreneurs, we love control. It feels safe, but the reality is you can't control everything. Right? There's a lot of things that happen in all of our days that are actually really out of our control. And if you follow Mel Robbins, she just released a book that's called The Let Them Theory. And I feel like this has been an integral part of my inner peace of just let them. Let them. A client cancels, let them. Someone, maybe it disappoints you with how they show up to a meeting, let them. Right? So much of how we go into our days, we can be intentional and we can do all the things, but there are still going to be factors that come about in our day that we can't control, and let them. So what we can control is our response. What we can control is how we can shift our focus from controlling outcomes to controlling our actions and our mindset. And then that piece naturally follows. And you'll start to trust that even if things don't go perfectly, you'll have the resilience and the resourcefulness to handle whatever comes your way. And so as you really focus on inner peace being a big part of how we make our dreams come true is being around the right types of people, right? So having the support system, surrounding yourself with people that fill your cup, right? The right people. So whether it's a coach you have, it's a big reason why I still have a coach, right? I'm around an amazing community. I'm part of masterminds. I have a coach. I have amazing friends, right? I have an amazing husband. And those people right? Allow that inner peace, allows you to thrive when you've got that right community. So don't carry some of those burdens alone. Share them, talk them through, and then allow others to remind you just of your strength. And so being around that community is super key. So there you have it. You have it, some powerful ways to really focus on cultivating inner peace, getting really clear on priorities, building that daily stillness practice, letting go of control over outcomes, and just like leaning on the support system of the people around you. And remember that inner peace isn't a destination. It's like anything in our lives, right? Those goals and those dreams, they're part of our journey. And so can inner peace, right? It's the journey, it's not the destination, and it's a daily practice of who we are and who we're continuing to become. And so when you think about everything else, right? When you have success, you have happiness, you have growth, it all becomes so much more meaningful. So when you think about going into this week, right? What is one thing that you will commit to this week to build inner peace in your life? Thanks for listening in. If you like today's episode, please share and tag on your socials, and look forward to seeing you all at our next episode.